Hello everybody and welcome back to Creating Hanley. I am the Hanley at Creating Hanley. Hello! And today we are doing a star tooth with this fabric. So I already pre-cut the squares to save time. So what you need, since we make 12.5-inch blocks, this is going to be your center square for our star tooth. And this block is 6.5 inches square. So this is your print color or your, print or your color or whatever you want. This is the showcase piece right in the center. 6.5 inches square. Okay, set that aside. And then this second color piece or your print is going to be different from this showcase piece. So have something coordinating or contrasting or whatever you want there. This is your star points. This fabric is going to be your star points, and we're going to draw some designs on the back of it. Set that aside. Now your background fabric. You can keep it the same color. Your background fabric, you're going to have one square of 7.25 inches. 7.25 inches square. In your background fabric in the same color, you're going to have 4 3.5-inch squares. So 4 of these little guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. And those are the same color for your background. Probably something light. You could actually have a contrasting color and make it very dark. So for example, this print, I could have had black for my background, and that would give this a totally different look. But I'm going to go with a cream color here to kind of blend in with all this to make this stand out and pop. So these are all very light. Even my star points are light. And it's going to be an experiment. We're going to give it a try. We're going to see how it goes. So now you know the measurements. That's all you need for this one block. This is actually the end of March 2023, but let's scoot this into April's star block of the month. So April 2023, because I think we already did 2 blocks in March, and we could do 3, but anyway, we're just gonna do this one. So however, whatever month you want it to be, it's up to you. But we're making 12.5-inch squares, our final 12.5-inch squares untrimmed. Well, like trimmed, but to 12.5 inches. So these measurements for this block will make a 12.5-inch trimmed block, not finished. Finished in a quilt is 12 inches. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to set these aside. We're going to set these aside. We're going to take our star point material, so whatever that is, flip it onto the back. Now you can see I pre-drew these lines, but I'm going to show you how to do this. So you want to take your straight edge from corner to corner, corner to corner, and the easiest way that I have found is to draw a straight line corner to corner. That is going to be your cut line. Now you're going to take your ruler and place the 1/4 inch mark right along that line that you just drew from corner to corner, and then draw another line 1/4 inch on each side. So spin that around, and same thing on the other side, 1/4 inch on that side. Those lines 1/4 inch away from this cut line are going to be your sew lines. Okay, now you're going to do that in the exact opposite corner. So again, draw a straight line from corner to corner, 1/4 inch over, draw another line, and 1/4 inch over, draw another line. Those are going to be your sew lines. So we're going to sew each line twice, one on each side. Okay? Now, after you have done that, so go ahead and do that, you are going to, I'm just going to bring my rotary cutting mat over here. You're going to bring your fabric to the cutting surface, and you are going to cut a straight line from side to side and side to side, not along these lines, okay? It's going to be straight through the center here and straight through the center this way. Hopefully that makes sense. There's going to be an X. Place your ruler right on the X and make sure these lines are straight on the side here. They should line up. Those lines should line up, those lines should line up, and then straight through the center, you want to cut. And then you're going to do the same thing. So on this side, again, don't move your fabric. Keep it right where it is. Line up right in the center. Line up this line. Line up this line. It should be square. It should be square. And then cut. I don't think that cut. Okay, mine didn't cut so well because this plexiglass gives too much. So I'm going to try that again. Keeping in the same cut line is going to be a little difficult. But let's try that again. Okay, now tried to save time here. That didn't quite work. Alright. Now what you have is your drawn lines corner to corner. So we're going to take two. So set two aside. And we're going to take our big background fabric. So set these aside. Set these aside. Take your big background fabric and place your drawn line in one corner. Make sure that is squared up. Have your iron on ready to go. If you didn't turn on your iron, go ahead and turn on your iron. If you didn't turn on your machine yet, go ahead and turn on your machine. Make sure the thread is the right color thread that you want. So we're going to line up both of these lines. Line up your corners. And line up both of these lines. These lines should be exact. Okay? This should be now one continuous line. This should be one continuous line, one continuous line. That should be actually dead on. Okay? Now, you can place some pins in there if you want, just so that nothing moves and shifts, which it can do in sewing. I'm just going to kind of do that a little bit. See, pinning to me shifts the fabric anyway. I can't ever seem to get it absolutely perfect without pinning. That's why I like clips. But I tell you what I do not have. I do not have Wonder Clips. And I would love some Wonder Clips. These are the clips I have, these paper clips. They're actually, you know, like paper clips. This is what I have. And this works out great pretty much for the most part. So anyway, but they're bulky and they're not made for that. Anyway, I'm going to start with my leader here. And what we're going to do is sew. I'm going to take my seam ripper here as a pointer. And so this is our sew line. And this is our sew line. Now you want to sew just to the inside of the sew line. So just to the inside of the sew line. When you put your needle down, put the needle down not on the line, not on the outside of the line, just on the inside of the line. And what that does is it allows your fabric to fold without losing width. I know it sounds like, who cares, right? Even just a thread or two makes a difference. Even a thread width makes a difference in your piece. So if you want to get exact measurements and piecing, make sure that you allow for that stitch, for that needle. That needle has width, and so does the thread. Okay, so I'm going to start with my leader, and you guys know what a leader is. A leader is just a little piece of fabric that we just sew on just to get the piece started. So now I'm gonna line up my, hopefully you guys can see that. I'm gonna line up my, well, I am lining up my cut line with this line on my presser foot. Now it doesn't matter, whatever pressure foot you have, make sure it works for you, okay? Actually, I'm going to line it up on this line, and then the needle, so the needle is going to come down just to the inside of that sew line. Now you can take it slow at the beginning. You do not need to backstitch. And my hand is far enough away that it's holding that in place. So then when I come down to this piece, I make sure that fabric is, you know, smooth and no wrinkles. And then keep going. And then I'm just going to sew off of that, and I'm just going to lift up my pressure foot. I'm not cutting my fabric. Now I can take the needles out because now the fabric is held down in place. And then I take it to the other side. Now this is annoying me, so I'm going to cut this little leader off. You don't need to use it here. And then same thing. Go ahead and start your sew, and you can speed it up a little bit if you feel confident enough. But I just want to make sure that I stay to the inside of that sew line. And then when you get to the end, then you can go ahead, cut your thread. Now my machine does it automatically. And now your piece looks like this. Okay? So what you're going to do is cut right along that cut line. Okay? So I'm just going to do this with scissors. So you just want to cut right along this cut line. You can use your rotary blade if you'd like. I'm just using scissors on camera so you guys can see it easily. Okay, so right there. Now take it over to your pressing table and press. And then when you peel back, be careful that because this is now the bias, so be careful. You guys can see that, right? Be careful of the bias. You don't overstretch the fabric here. So you just want to be careful. Just peel it back gently so that it reaches that seam or that thread that you just sewed. And then you can add some heat and you can add steam if you like. Just press. Okay, so it looks like that. So it creates a little heart or a fox point, little heart. Okay, so there's that one. Same with this one. So you can take care here. Be very gentle. Peel that back. Be very gentle. Peel that back. Add your heat, and if you want, you can add steam. Okay, so I'm going to add steam to this one too, and I'm going to take my fabric roller and roll off the little fibers because they bother me. You don't have to do that, but these little fibers show up on this fabric and it bothers me. So we're just going to do that. Okay, so now your fabric looks like this. Now your piece looks like this. So you want to take your next drawn line square and line that up right on this corner, this tip right there. Make sure these edges are perfectly aligned. Again, you can throw in a pin if you like. I'm not going to on this one. And then we're going to do the same thing on this one. So your right sides together. So these are your right sides. Take your right side, flip it upside down. So your right sides together. Same thing here. Align the point up with this corner. So corner to corner. Line the edges up, right on, squared up. And then this little tip is going to hang over the middle of the heart section here. Okay, it's supposed to do that. Now you can use your leader to start if you'd like. And then again, you just want to sew on the inside of your sew lines. Not the center line, that's your cut line, but on the inside of your sew lines. And mine's a little wonky already. Okay, so right off there, and then I'm just going to chain piece it here too. And then I'm adding the next piece and just start sewing. So you're not sewing them together. I'm just chain piecing. And today I'm sewing rather slowly. Normally I don't sew that slow. And then spin it around. You don't need to cut your fabric or your thread in between. Same thing. So just to the inside of that sew line. Uh-oh, I went a little bit over. So now mine's going to be wonky. Yeah, that's par for the course for this Hanley here. It's always a little bit wonky. Alright, just to the inside of that line. Super. Now I don't need an ender here. I'm just going to sew that off. Right like that. Sew that off. And cut these apart. Right in the center here. And now you have these two edges. You just want to cut down the center on this cut line on both. And now you have created your flying geese. You have created 4 flying geese. And that's how you make 4 at a time flying geese. So when you open these up, peel that back, here's your flying geese unit. So that's a flying geese unit. And then same thing for all 4 of these. So take it over to your press board. Again, gently peel that back. If you want to, you can steam it. Wow, that was a lot. Oh. Okay. Alright, that was a mistake. I didn't want to press in those, there we go, those folds. Okay, so you want to do that 4 times. Gently press that back. Set your seam, open it up, press it back. Set your seam, open it up, press it back. I'm finding that with this type of fabric that I'm using right here, I should really use a steam with that. A little bit of water. Alright, now there's your 4 flying geese units. You've just created your 4 flying geese units. There you go. There's that. Okay. Now, we need to square these up 3.5 inches by 6.5 inches. So 3.5 inches by 6.5 inches. Square that up. So you take your ruler. So here's my ruler here that's 6.5 inches long. And then, oh, I gotta bring my thing back for you guys. I don't have a super small cutting mat. So, find your 3.5 inch mark. So, mine is going to be 1, 2, 3 right here. So, on this line, I just line up the edge, this edge, line that up with my 3-inch line. And then 1/2 inch. So mine is already wonky. Mine is wonky. I tried to be super careful and it's still wonky. Alright, so that cuts off the little dog ear right there. And then if I spin this around, you don't have to do that, but just because of the way I'm standing. And then cut these sides. So you want to cut off those little tags there, those little triangles at the end. So you want to do that on all 4. So line that up on your 3-inch line, and then trim all around. Now, mine are not 3.5 inches. Mine are shy of 3.5 inches. So that is going to be a problem, a little bit of a problem. They're not super far off, but I just have to be careful when I sew it into my block that I remember that that is just shy of 3.5 inches, so I don't sew a true 1/4 inch seam. It should be a little shy. My 1/4 inch seam should be a little shy. Alright, so there's that. And then the last one. So this is real time, guys. So we're sewing this together. This is our sew along. So sew with me. I'm glad you're here. I appreciate you following along, sewing along with our Sew a Year Full of Stars quilt project, quilt blocks. I appreciate that. I have somebody to sew with. Thank you. And you have somebody to sew with too. Alright, so now these are squared up. Our flying geese are squared up. Now, we can start putting our block together. So, we just created our star legs. So, you want to make, if your center square is a showcase piece and you have fussy cut it, or, you want to showcase something on there, make sure it's going in the right direction when you put it into your quilt. Now, for these star legs, it doesn't matter because they're all the same, unless your star legs are a specific direction too. So, we're just going to line these up in our Sawtooth pattern. So hopefully you guys can see that. So put these like this so that these points are out, and then we're going to take our background fabrics 3.5 inch squares and put those on the corner. So this comes together relatively quickly. Once we make those flying geese, that's it. That's all you got to make is those 4 flying geese units. And then your unit looks like this. Your block looks like this. So then we just take these and sew them together. So right sides together, right sides together, right sides together. Okay? So I'm going to take this to the, maybe you guys can still see that from where you are. Take it to your needle and thread. And remember, mine were a little bit short. On my flying geese were a little bit short, so I may not want to do a full 1/4 inch seam allowance. I might want to keep my seam allowance a little shy. So I think I am going to do that. And just sew right down the line there. Try to keep it as straight as possible. And then I'm going to chain piece, so I'm leaving that in. And then I come over to the next row and I line up that. And again, I'm a little bit short, so I'm going to keep it a little scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, some of my friends following along with me are going to say, yeah, Kim, you're short. Haha, that's not funny. Alright, so I let that get wonky. I let that get wonky right here, and that is going to bother me. It shouldn't, but it will. So I'm just going to rip this out and do it again while I'm on camera so you can see. Seam rip it out. So when you have to seam rip out something, you don't have to seam rip out every stitch. I do like every 3rd or every 4th, and then it just kind of comes out on its own. Should come out on its own. See, right at the end there, it didn't even catch. So I want to make sure that I catch that. So see, it just comes out on its own. And then with this seam ripper, I have this cool little rubberized tip here that I kind of can use as like a pencil eraser motion. And then I take out all that extra thread, and I'm going to cut this extra thread here. and then realign it. Okay, this is bothersome too. And then realign that, and then start right where I left off. And then I'm going to back stitch here just to lock in that stitch a little bit. I'm going to try to hold this down a little bit tighter. Here we go. Alright. That's still a little wonky, but oh, my seam ripper went flying across the thing here. So there's that. Has a little cap. So that's another reason to use a pin. And then the last row here, again, line that up and scant 1/4 inch. For some reason, mine are shifting a lot today, so I probably should really, you know, be smart and use a pin. But for some reason, I don't know, I'm not. Alright, here we go. Okay, now I know this was the bottom one. I'm going to take this, flip it around, and put right sides together here. Scant 1/4 inch on that one as well. Speed up the pace a little bit. Now I know this piece and this piece is the top and the middle. So again, you open it up, right sides to right sides. A scant 1/4 inch. And if you have to stop your sewing, your thread and needle and thread, then you stop and just realign the fabric. Okay. And then I'm actually going to cut that, and then you open it up. So here we go. Here's our star points. Just like so. Okay? So place it together and your star points, and it looks like that, right? So wait a minute. What happened here? Oh, guys, I didn't sew this last one. I'm really screwing up tonight. You know, I'm not in the same energy, folks. I'm just not right now. Sorry about that. But I saw this star block, the Sawtooth star block done this way, and I wanted to show it to you as well. So I wanted to get a star block out this weekend. Alright, now here we go. There's our star blocks. Now all we have to do is sew these rows together. But first I'm going to iron. So when you flip it over, when you look on the back, your seams, they kind of want to go like this way, and so your top row, iron your seams to the outside. Your inside row, iron your seams to the inside, and then your bottom row, iron the seams to the outside. And what that does is it'll create this opposition in seams, and so you'll be able to nest your seams so that it's easy to fit on the machine. Well, whatever. I don't know. It'll nest your seams. So I'm just going to iron them out. And again, you don't need to swirl your fabric. Just press. And yes, normally we say iron to the dark side, but today I am just ironing out to the outside on the top and bottom rows because that is the easiest. That is the way the fabric wants to go. And then on the inside, can you even see that? No. Oh my gosh, you guys. Here we go. Now you can see it. That's a little bit better for you. Yeah, okay. So this might be one of the last times that I use the laptop camera for recording these videos because I got my new camera 3 days earlier than I expected. So hopefully I'll be able to play around with it. Okay, so there's that. And then this one. Press those seams to the outside. And then when you put it together, make sure your star points go in the right direction. So you don't want to put your star points like that. Star points go outwards. So they go away from your center, right? Like that, okay? So double check. No harm in double checking. You always want to double check. And then what I mean by nesting the seams is you take these two seam lines and you line them up with these two seam lines, okay? Now, mine are way wonky because I did the cutting. I don't know. I thought I did the cutting right. I did the sewing wrong. I did something wrong, obviously. Anyway, you can put a pin in there and then sew right down that line. Be careful on the back side that your seams don't flip as you're sewing this line down. Alright, I'm going to stop that and readjust the camera. Okay. And then readjust the fabric, make sure those seams align. They're not aligning, I just said that. They're not aligning at all, guys. Okay, sew that off, and then cut, and then open that up. And if you want to, you can press. I'm pressing this to the outside. Now this point in here might get a little bulky. That might get a little bulky. So, you know, whatever works. However the fabric wants to go, you don't need to force it. Just let it do its thing. Because in a quilt, you know, if you're going over top of it with some quilting design, it should work out all right. So you can see my points do not line up at all. You know, whatever. All right, now this star point, make sure you line up these seam allowances, which these don't either. Or not seam allowances, your seams. And then 1/4 inch seam allowance. Again, making sure the seams underneath don't flip. And if you find that, and you can kind of feel it with your fingers underneath, it creates a little bulge here, a little bulk, too much bulk. Like, you know, it's like paper all balled up. You don't really want that. So make sure you just stop, check, flip it the right way, and then keep going. Uh-oh, my bobbin thread's almost empty. Well, that's good because this project is almost done. So, there we go. So the bobbin thread runs out just as the project ends. And look how much thread I had left on the bobbin, guys. That's it. It's like tooth floss. That was it. So, how about that, huh? Finish the project and finish the bobbin. There we go. And that's it. And this is our project, guys. This is called the Sawtooth Star Block. Thank you for sewing along with me today. I appreciate all your likes, shares, and subscribes. And we'll see you on the next block. Bye!